Hi everybody, I'm the Greatest Living Inventor, and now we are going to talk about my invention, Bacterial Ephialtes. Okay, so it's a Greek name, Bacterial Ephialtes. Okay, so bacterial, first of all I'll read the description. A cure against superbugs, antimicrobial resistance like bacteria resistant to antibiotic, based on creatures that perform betrayal against their own kind, named after Ephialtes from Trachis. Okay, so the name Ephialtes comes from the real story of the battle that you saw in the movie 300, okay, the Battle of Thermopylae, and the Spartans were 300 men against like I don't know, 10,000 of Persians, and they could have fought them because they were expert fighters and very tough, and also they knew the terrain, but they were betrayed by the traitor Ephialtes from Trachis, and I'm not going into the details, but he told the Persians how to go around in some secret path, and that was how the Spartans lost. So so we are now talking about traitors in the bacterial scale. Okay, it's like, it's not, they don't do it consciously, but it's the result is the same. Okay, so I'm reading to you, and once in a while I will stop and explain. Okay, but the main idea is a cure against superbugs. And superbugs, like I said, it's the bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. The professional name is antimicrobial resistance. Okay, so bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. Okay, so I will take my shirt off. Okay, so I'm reading to you the story because it's a nice story. It's my first big invention at the age of 16. Okay, this is my oldest big idea. Please read about it in my book, the Strulovitz system, which is also in Amazon. And since the idea is described at the very beginning of the book, you don't even have to pay the $1 for the book. You can simply read the idea in the preview. Okay, but I'll read it to you anyway here. So let me read it. Introduction, How I Almost Saved the World. One day when I was in high school, I was sitting in a biology class. The teacher told us that soon there will be plagues. She explained that this is because the bacteria become resistant to the current antibiotics medicine. This is because the bacteria are changing, mutating, faster than we can produce new antibiotics. I told her that we could take the bad bacteria and grow them in large numbers inside closed tanks on some substrate. This way something will be created all by itself that feeds on those bad bacteria. This something will be a parasite on the parasite. So let's call this something the good bacteria. Then we will isolate and grow the good bacteria, and this will be the cure. How will this miracle happen? Now I'm explaining. Imagine a village full of naive people. Okay, so I will draw it. Okay, so if we have a village, let's say this is the village, okay, we have a village and it's full of naive people. We'll do them like smiley people. Okay, and suddenly, like a bad person, or maybe I'll read it in order, in an orderly fashion. How will this miracle happen? Imagine a village full of naive people. Now suppose a crook shows up in the village. Okay, so let's do the crook in red. Okay, I'll do the good people in blue and the bad one in red. Okay, so forgive me that I'm not drawing the houses. Okay, so we have a village, so I'm just drawing the people, full of good people. For our sake, smiley means good. Okay, and let's do also like they are angels. Okay, and suddenly there comes a crook. Let's do him in red. Okay, so this is a crook. Okay, he's also got I'm trying to do it like Satan, okay, but I don't want it to look like something else, so let's forget the pointy tail. This is our crook, okay, this is the crook. And these are naive people. So the crook have horns like his Satan. So now suppose a crook shows up in this village. The crook can come from outside, which is contamination, or from inside, born different from his naive parents, mutation. Now what will happen? The crook feeds on the naive people, so he will flourish because there are so many of them there, and multiply, creating more crooks like him. In this metaphor, the naive people are the bad bacteria, and the crooks is the good bacteria. Okay, so what will happen? This is like time 0, and now in the beginning of time, and now in time 1, in the next point in time, this is like in the present, and what happens in the future. In the future, there are more and more crooks, because the crook can exploit the good people and prosper. Okay, so he's doing very well, and he can pass his genes to the next generation. So there are many crooks. Okay, so there is a limit, like to the amount of crooks, but we'll ignore it now. They cannot all be crooks because they need to live on the good people. But let's not complicate things. You will have a lot of crooks. Okay, so the crook feeds on the naive people, so he will flourish because there are so many of them there, and multiply, creating more crooks like him. In this metaphor, the naive people are the bad bacteria, and the crooks is the good bacteria. Okay, so let's do it in a petri dish. The same metaphor. We have a petri dish from above. You know, it's what scientists use to grow bacteria. So what will happen? The same thing. Okay, here we have the bad bacteria. Okay, this is the bad bacteria. And this is the good bacteria. Okay, this cause the disease. Okay, so it's like these are the bad bacteria, and this is either by mutation from the inside, from one of them, or by contamination from the outside, the bad bacteria. Okay, let's make them. I don't want to give them faces because this will you will get confused. So I'm just doing now the colors. Okay, so these are blue and this is red. Can you see the colors? Not so much. Let's do this. This is blue. Okay, these are bad bacteria. They cause the disease. And this one is the good bacteria. And what happens, this is the present, the beginning. What happens in the future? In the future, the good bacteria lives, exploits the bad bacteria. It lives on this one eats those ones. Okay, like the crook exploits these ones. So what will be? This one will have a lot of food, at least in the beginning, so it multiplies a lot. So it will be more and more red ones. Okay, so there is let's draw one bad one and many good ones. I'm exaggerating so that you will see it vividly, because in reality it will be maximum half of the population can be parasites, because otherwise they will not have enough food. Okay, so but I'm exaggerating that you will see that there are many good ones, and as opposed to the beginning when there was only one, which was by accident mutation or by from the outside contamination. And anyway, it's by chance got here, and now it's taking over. Okay, so the important thing to understand is that because we are talking about such huge numbers of bacteria, many blue, I drawn 3, but there are millions, then there is a chance, if there were only 3, there is a very minute chance. But if there are 3 billion, then there is a good chance that something will develop. Okay, because each time there is a mutation, it's like a roulette. You take a chance, and finally the chance happen, and the parasite, a crook, forms, is being born. Okay. So again, how will this miracle happen? Imagine a village full of naive people. Now suppose a crook shows up in the village. The crook can come from outside, contamination, or from inside, born different from his naive parents, mutation. Now what happens? The crook feeds on the naive people, so he will flourish because there are so many of them there, and multiply, creating more crooks like him. In this metaphor, the naive people are the bad bacteria. Okay, the naive people are the bad bacteria. And the crook is the good bacteria, which later prospers and becomes a significant amount, many crooks, which is for us they are the good because they are a parasite on the parasite. This lives on us, and this lives on it, on the blue. Okay, the teacher put me down and told me I was totally wrong. This can't work. If this could work, someone would already have done this, and she never heard of such a thing. After 2 years, about 2 years later, while I was in the army, I was watching a program by BBC Two and Horizon, from the series Horizon, on television. The program was called Phage, the virus that cures. Phage, the virus that cures. Okay, BBC to Horizon. And on television. The program was called Phage, the virus that cures. You can watch it on YouTube here. I'll give you in the description the link in YouTube. This program was describing the exact same thing that I was talking about in theory, but working in practice. The program showed that scientists in the former USSR in the Republic of Georgia, found that the water of the river contained bad bacteria through human feces, and natural evolution developed good viruses that lived on the bad bacteria. These viruses cure the disease that antibiotics cannot cure. The program said that these viruses that are called bacteriophage, or in short phage, bacteriophage. Bacteriophage. Or in short, phage. Phage may hold our last defense against superbugs that can wipe out the whole human race. Okay, and then I go on and explaining things that now are irrelevant, like what can we learn from this about ADD, but now we are concentrating on the main issue. So I read it to you in my book, and I told you the story. And now let me give you another example that I'm giving in another book. It basically says that, like the situation with Donald Trump in the USA, if there is a population of idiots, then a parasitic mutation will develop on its own to exploit them. This happens also in the micro scale. We take the pathogen, grow it in closed tanks, and the mutation that cannibalizes on its own kind develops on its own. We isolate this. Okay, we take the red ones, this Bacterio Ephialtes, these traitors, because for the bacteria they are traitors, they are eating the bacteria. So we take this Ephialtes, these traitors, and use it against the original bacteria pathogens in the body of the patient. Like they say in Sanskrit, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Please note, this is not bacteriophage, bacteriophage, because phage comes from the outside. Okay, so let me make it clear. The scientists found out that if you have a crook that comes from the outside, which means it's not even a bacteria, this is in their specific case in Georgia, in the feces, there was a virus. The phage is a virus. It looks something like this. Like it has legs and then a box with the RNA. So here is the RNA. And they found it about only one specific type of crook, about the crook that comes from the outside, but they never tried the crook that comes from the inside, like I told you in the beginning. So the crook can come either by contamination from the outside, like a virus. This is a virus. Or it can be other kind of crook from the outside contamination, like it can be a fungi. In antibiotics, it's a fungi that makes a chemical, and it can be other kinds of unicellular creatures, but it can also be from the inside, the crook, which is the purest solution, because it really comes from the inside. It will always work. If you grow enough of this will develop because of the statistical nature of the problem. The more you try to run the roulette, the genetic roulette here, the more chances that this will happen, and if you try a lot, then this will happen for sure. Okay, so it basically says that, like the situation with Trump in the United States, if there is a population of idiots, then a parasitic mutation will develop on its own to exploit them. This happens also in the micro scale. We take the pathogen, grow it in closed tanks, a mutation that cannibalizes on its own kind develops on its own. We isolate this Bacterio Ephialtes and use it against the original bacteria pathogens. Like they say in Sanskrit, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Please note, this is not bacteriophage, because phage comes from the outside, like a virus that is external to the pathogen and kills it. Phage is similar to Bibi in Israel, okay, the prime minister, the previous prime minister of Israel, who came from America armed with American marketing tricks, and ever since then ruins my country. That's the book was written when Bibi was still in power, and like thankfully he's no longer in power. Okay, so so that's it. So this this was never tried, okay, as far as I know. So luckily this was tried, but it wasn't tried. It was just found by accident in Georgia, in the USSR, and this was never tried because, again, it requires a leap of faith. You take the bad things and you trust that something good will come out of it. So it's non-intuitive. So so this is my invention, and I'll see you in my next invention. So thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.